At some point in this video, eventually, I'm going to talk about something I've realized that's helped me along on this healing journey from benzo withdrawal. But before that, I have to say, last night was a bad night. Last night was a bad night. I was actually going to make this video about something else, but I had a really bad night last night, and I wanted to talk about what happened. It started off as just a sleepless night, and a sleepless night is not bad. Sleepless night is not great, but a sleepless night is something you can deal with. The generator had gone offline because of the switching box we have that goes between the mains and the generator. It had shit the bed at whatever time in the middle of the night. I woke up, everything was dark. I went outside, talked to the night guardians that were there, and eventually we tripped the mains, the power meter, so it would force it back on the generator, and then we got power again. And there was a bit of weather. There was something that was like trying to be a storm, but it couldn't quite get there. There was a bit of wind and like some raindrops, which was kind of nice. And I sat there by the pool and I watched the raindrops hitting the pool. And this was the best part of the night. I wasn't sleeping, but I was okay. This was the best part of last night. And then I went back to the room. And I went back to the room, and the drone of the generator had really worked its way to some part of my brain. You know, it's like the volume had gone up on the generator or something. And then it just went downhill from there. I started having some of the symptoms that are still very familiar to me, even though I don't have them that often anymore. You know, that racing heart feeling. Like my heartbeat is just like a runaway train. I was feeling something that was like on the edge of a depersonalization, derealization episode. That feeling I would get when my identity would become somehow detached from my brain. Air hunger. All of a sudden I was struggling to catch a breath. And then when I finally started feeling like I was possibly gonna nod off, I was having these kind of hypnic jerk sleep starts. And it's like that would force me awake, and then the whole thing would start again. You know, my heart would be racing, or at one point I was like feeling my pulse, and it was like my heart had stopped. These are all things that have happened to me before. And they're all things that I can tell myself, oh, I survived that, nothing happened, everything was okay. But in the moment when you're feeling them, even going through this nearly 2 years, healing journey that I've been on, when you're going through it, it's still just as terrifying, as awful as it was before. Eventually, at some point in the night, I was so exhausted, body had no more energy, the brain had no more energy, and you pass out. This is not a good way to get sleep. It's not a good way to live. In 2 of my previous videos, I talked about, 1, my own healing timeline and journey, which I acknowledge that while I have healed enormously, I've not fully healed. I'm still dealing with cognitive issues, memory loss, even sometimes trying to articulate myself while making these videos is difficult. Mast cell activation syndrome is probably the biggest thing front and center for me, because that feeds into anxiety in different ways. And anxiety and panic are still there, which can lead to other physical symptoms, some of which I experienced last night, like air hunger and, you know, racing heartbeat and all this. But the healing is such that my baseline anxiety now is better than my baseline anxiety before I even considered getting off the benzos, before I even started taking the benzos. I'm better now than I was then. But in a recent video, I also acknowledged that there are some people that never fully heal. That it's important to listen to and acknowledge them. The doctor that says it's all in your head, there's nothing wrong with you, we know that doctor is full of shit. Just like we know that someone who's gone through benzo withdrawal that says after 5 years, I haven't healed, we know that they're telling the truth. But right now in this video, I want to talk about a couple of things that I know I did or didn't do over the past couple days that almost definitely contributed to what I went through last night. So the previous evening, I'd had a meal that was incredibly high in histamine, which if you have mast cell activation syndrome, which some people do after going through benzo withdrawal, whether this link is proven or not, the response from my one video on the subject and just other stuff I've seen online for people who are searching in the dark, trying to find other people that are going through what they're going through, I know this is real. And I bet COVID probably contributed to it. I'm not going to doubt that. But I know this is something I have post-benzo withdrawal or during benzo withdrawal that I never had earlier in my life. Or if I did, it was negligible and it was not something to affect my day-to-day life. So anyway, I had a very histamine-rich meal. I was eating Lebanese food with some friends. Lebanese food, I mean, there was baba ganoush that has eggplant. There was tabbouleh with tomato. There was hummus, with chickpeas and tahini and all this stuff. It was like dropping a histamine bomb on my body. And I was drinking beer. Not a lot of beer. I don't drink that much anymore for multiple reasons. One of them being the histamine and MCAS and what it does to my GABA receptors that are still healing and trying to come back fully to life. But on that night I did. And those things in combination led to a physical reaction with histamine. Histamine, you don't have to take my word for it. Just search online. You can find plenty of university websites and institutional websites, National Institute of Health, talking about the link between histamine and anxiety. Yes, histamine and anxiety. You probably think, what the fuck am I talking about? Yes, look it up. If you're someone that's already going through MCAS, then you probably don't even say any of this, but otherwise, look it up. Histamine is something that can contribute to anxiety. We have histamine naturally in our body, just like we have cortisol, that's produced during the stress response. When you have an overload of it, an excessive amount of histamine, histamine's often released at night as well. That can lead to excessive anxiety, which when you have a nervous system that's on a knife's edge, like mine is, that's just so sensitive, that's so fragile after everything it's been through, if you do something like that, like what I had, that meal I had, and drinking beer, I think I had 2 beers, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You're sabotaging yourself. And while the meal was enjoyable, I have to be honest with myself and understand that that episode I had last night was probably wrapped up in that. Now I can also say over the past couple days, I've been stressed to the max. I mean, we have a business here that's kind of just clinging to life. We've got electricity cuts that are sometimes going over 24 hours at a time. I mean, this whole city right now, so there's military leadership. I probably shouldn't be talking too much about this out loud because they're arresting people left and right. Basically, we have a state that's not functioning. We've lost a lot of our clients at we've got a tiny little guest house and restaurant and hostel type thing. So we're dealing with like crises on multiple fronts, and that's contributing to an enormous amount of stress. And then things just like these little triggers, like I was talking about the generator, the noise of the generator, the constant hum of the generator, which they could start up at any second. This power cut, we've probably had electricity for 3 hours right now, so I shouldn't even be talking about it. I should be touching wood and everything surrounded by fucking steel up here. What I'm trying to say is that there are people that have become stuck on their healing journey, who have had permanent setbacks, who have not been able to heal for one reason or other. I don't doubt any of that. I also do believe that the vast majority of us can heal, and can heal close to 100%, or maybe 100% in some cases for some people. But there's something that we need to contribute. There's an effort that we need to put in, or a reflection that we need to have. In my case before, I would have never even thought that a meal, that food I was eating, alcohol, sure, drugs, supplements, yes, fine. But a meal I was eating could actually have an effect on how I was going to pass the night, on my anxiety levels, on whether I could have a panic attack or something even worse. This is not meant to be like a guilt trip or even a pep talk, just a suggestion that if you're really struggling and you haven't looked into all these possible things. In the video I made about supplements, on the Benzo Info site, the Benzo Info Coalition, they have an exhaustive list of medications and supplements that can cause kindling, that can prolong your withdrawal, that can actually contribute to your healing, stalling, or to go backwards. I experienced that with Phenergan. I was taking Phenergan to help me fall asleep, and it turned out that it was acting on my GABA receptors, and I was actually slowing down my healing, or actually throwing a wrench into it. Looking at lists like that, looking at how you spend your day, looking at, yes, the foods you're eating, and whether you do have a problem with histamine or mast cells, because sometimes the manifestations of that are difficult to read. You can very easily sit back and say, you're fucked. I'm not healing, I'm not getting better. And for some of us, some of you, there may not be much you can do. The best weapon we have when it comes to benzo withdrawal and healing is time. There's no doubt about that. Just time, getting through the days, giving your brain time to heal. But it's also taking a close look and making sure you're not throwing things at your brain that make the passage of time meaningless. While your brain's trying to do its work, you're putting something in front of it, you're putting up obstacles that are making it more difficult. Something to think about. I don't know if I'm going to go try to find some more birds or jump in the pool. One thing I forgot to mention that was part of that equation of how I felt last night and what I experienced last night, I also had a couple cups of coffee yesterday, and normally I can have a cup of coffee every now and then, but not several cups of coffee in the same day. And that's partly because of the histamine, but also the caffeine and the agitation on my nervous system. So there was that too. Let's get off the roof and see what's happening downstairs. I got a couple new flotation devices. Bramali, 아이스 고마. 남아사. Gura. And we're gonna have bananas pretty soon. Okay. Yeah, okay. Nicole, bonjour. Ça va? Matemata? Sigoma? Aman? Je vais avoir une bouteille d'eau, grande bouteille d'eau devant. I'll just show you this quickly. This is my mural that I'm working on with a local artist and sculptor. It's going to be like Mansa Musa's pilgrimage that he did to Mecca with 60,000 people over a 2-year period. This would have been in the, what was it, 15th century? How much you want to bet this dog's gonna start barking? Right on cue. Thrush next to the long-tailed glossy starling. That sounds like a yellow-crowned gonolek. No TPS. It is a yellow-crowned gonolek. Holy shit. Well, that's the first time I've seen one of those in Bamako. Let me see if I can... Oh, he flew. There he is. Well, that is really cool. Such a nice morning walk without the generators. Man, we got jacanas here, we got pied kingfishers. And there's the jacana. That guy. You know, he's like a sniper. They are the largest hovering bird. So they need to eat a lot of fish every day to get enough calories to be able to hover over the water. Oh, oh. That bird, you know, it's some kind of wader, some kind of wading bird. And it's got like an egret heron sort of vibe to it. It's got this funny kind of like hunchback thing when it walks. We will meet again. It's kind of nice down here. Go up by the bridge. Walking through all these informal vegetable gardens. Oh. Just gonna jump across there. Let's go. Maybe someone will. If you're wondering what those birds are flitting around, those are doves. That was a bulbul. Just went past. There's a bulbul right there. Bulbuls are my alarm clock. See that guy right there? Hey, buddy. That'd be a really good picture, actually. Oh. He didn't want to have his picture taken. It's cool. I think bougainvillea is just in bloom all the time.